Ringo Starr, the legendary drummer of the Beatles, is not only famous for his musical talent, but also for his life full of ups and downs. From his early years of poverty in Liverpool to the successes and sufferings of his solo career, Ringo has faced countless challenges. Was his life as tragic as many people think? Let's explore the difficulties and struggles that Ringo Starr overcame in his journey to find peace. Don't miss this video. Follow along to learn more about his fascinating life. Early years and career beginnings. Ringo Starr, whose real name is Richard Starkey, was born on July 7, 1940, in Liverpool, England, into a poor family. His father, Richard Starkey Sr., was a factory worker, but he left when Ringo was very young. Ringo's mother, Elsie, raised him alone in difficult circumstances. She worked as a baker to take care of her son. Ringo Starr faced many challenges from an early age. When he was only 6 years old, he contracted severe meningitis and had to stay in hospital for a long time. This not only affected his health, but also caused Ringo to have a difficult time during his early years. Illness and poverty were two major factors that affected Ringo's life during this time. But they also helped him develop the resilience and endurance that would later help him overcome many difficulties in his career, discovering music and starting a career. Despite his family's poverty, Ringo always had a passion for music from an early age. He started playing drums at the age of 13 and gradually improved his skills. As a teenager, Ringo played in several small bands in Liverpool, where he was known as Ringo due to his ring and habit of spinning his drums. During this time, he joined groups such as the Raving Texans and Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, where he learned a lot about music and developed his style. Ringo Starr joined the Beatles in 1962, replacing Pete Best, who was dropped from the group. Despite initial doubts about Ringo's abilities, he quickly proved his talent and importance to the group. The combination of Ringo and the other members of the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison, created one of the greatest bands in the history of world music. Ringo brought a unique, energetic drumming style, and he became an indispensable part of the Beatles' success. Before joining the Beatles, Ringo had spent some difficult years in local bands, but these experiences helped him mature and prepare for his great career later. Although Ringo Starr was not the main songwriter for the Beatles like John Lennon, Paul McCartney, or George Harrison, his contributions to the group's music are undeniable and important. Career with the Beatles. Ringo not only excelled as the main drummer, but also wrote some of the group's most famous songs. Songs like With a Little Help from My Friends and Octopus's Garden not only showcased Ringo's songwriting talents, but also contributed to the Beatles' musical repertoire. Ringo created a distinct drumming style that combined solidity, rhythm, and striking solos, which helped to establish his important role in the group. This was evident in iconic Beatles songs like A Day in the Life, Come Together, Something, and Helter Skelter. Although not the main songwriter, Ringo's drums had a special power, heightening the emotions and giving depth to the group's songs. In addition to his musical contributions, Ringo was also the one who maintained the unity of the group. With his easygoing personality and sense of humor, he helped to ease the tension during the difficult times of the Beatles. However, like the other members of the group, Ringo also experienced conflicts and disagreements with John, Paul, and George throughout the group's career. One memorable event was when he left the group in 1968 for a short time because he felt out of place and unappreciated. His unique role as the main drummer on the Beatles' iconic songs, Ringo Starr was more than just a drummer. He was the one who created the unique and characteristic rhythms of the Beatles. In the band's most famous songs, he provided impeccable drumming that enhanced the musical quality of the songs. For example, in Come Together, Abbey Road, Ringo's drums brought a mysterious and captivating feel, becoming one of the most distinctive musical parts of the song. Meanwhile, A Day in the Life is a prime example of how Ringo used the drums to create strong shifts in the song's emotions, from gentle to tense to powerful. One of the most memorable songs that Ringo wrote for the band was Octopus's Garden, a cheerful and optimistic song. This song demonstrated Ringo's creativity and desire to explore new worlds. It was the diversity and richness of Ringo's music that helped the Beatles reach a wide audience and stay fresh throughout their long career. Ringo's relationship with the rest of the Beatles, tensions and power struggles within the group. Despite his outgoing personality and easy connection with the other members of the group, Ringo was not immune to tensions and conflicts within the Beatles. During the final stages of the group, issues of power and songwriting created a tense working environment, especially between Paul McCartney and John Lennon. Ringo, while rarely involved in these arguments, felt left out or disrespected on several occasions, especially in songwriting. One notable event was when Ringo decided to leave the group in August 1968. During the recording of the White Album, he felt isolated and dissatisfied with the way the songs were being recorded, especially since he was not able to participate in the songwriting process like the other members. Ringo's departure, however, did not last long, and he returned to the group after just a few weeks, realizing that the Beatles could not survive without him. Resounding successes, the Beatles are the most influential group in music history, not only changing music, but also having a profound impact on world culture. The group's career reached its peak with legendary albums such as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Revolver, and Rubber Soul. These albums not only showcased the talents of the group members, but also marked the musical innovations of the time, from the use of new instruments and hanging song structures to experimenting with modern studio techniques. The Beatles not only changed the course of music, but also reshaped the way fans and artists viewed music as a true art form. Along with their resounding commercial successes, the Beatles built an immortal musical legacy that to this day continues to influence generations of artists and music lovers around the world. But they could not stay together forever. In the final years of the Beatles, the group faced many difficulties in maintaining unity. Although the group achieved great success and had great influence in the music industry, tensions and disagreements between the members increased. The challenges and breakups of the Beatles. A large part of the reason was due to the personal development of each member, as each member began to seek his oath and create deeply personal music. Differences in songwriting views, roles within the group, and changes in the members' attitudes created inevitable conflicts. For Ringo Starr, one of the important milestones reflecting this tension was his decision to temporarily leave the group in 1968. This occurred during the recording of the White Album, one of the most complex and challenging works of the Beatles' career. Ringo felt isolated and disrespected within the group, especially as the other members focused on their songwriting, while his role as drummer seemed to be overshadowed. Ringo felt like he was no longer an important part of the group, and this lack of unity led to his temporary departure. However, Ringo's departure was short-lived. After a break and a fresh start, he returned to the Beatles and continued recording songs for the White Album. However, the internal conflicts and tensions did not stop there. The other members of the group also began to have growing disagreements. John Lennon and Paul McCartney, the group's main songwriters, had increasingly conflicted over sharing power and songwriting. George Harrison, although a creative member, felt suppressed and under-recognized for his musical contributions. This led to constant arguments throughout the Beatles' final years. The breakup and its effects. In 1970, After years of internal tension and conflict, the Beatles officially broke up. John Lennon, who had deep disagreements with the remaining members, was the first to publicly announce his departure from the group, and Paul McCartney followed suit. The departure of the members made it impossible for the Beatles to maintain their image as a unified group. Although George Harrison maintained a close relationship with the remaining members, the breakup was inevitable. For Ringo, the breakup brought a deep sense of loneliness and loss. Although Ringo was not the main songwriter in the Beatles, he was deeply attached to the group and found it difficult to stand alone in his musical career. Ringo began his solo career shortly after the Beatles broke up, but the process was not easy. He faced a sense of loss when he was no longer part of the group, and rebuilding his career was a big challenge. However, Ringo did not give up and continued to develop his solo career. His first solo albums, such as Sentimental Journey, 1970, and Beaucoup of Blues, 1970, although not a huge success, showed Ringo's creativity and desire to express himself. During the following years, Ringo released many other solo albums, some of which were successful, such as Ringo, 1973, which featured hits such as Photograph and You're 16. Ringo's solo career showed that he was not only a talented drummer, but also an independent artist with a unique musical style. However, despite his success as a solo artist, Ringo still felt a lack of the unity he had enjoyed as a part of the Beatles. The breakup of the band not only cost him the opportunity to work with his close friends, but also left a huge void in his heart. Despite this, Ringo has always expressed gratitude for his time with the Beatles and maintained close friendships with the other members. After the breakup of the Beatles, Ringo Starr embarked on a solo career, although it was no small feat. What did he experience? Solo career and difficulties. His debut solo album, Sentimental Journey, 1970, was a major departure from what the public was used to. Released just months after the breakup of the Beatles, Sentimental Journey featured swing influences and soft ballads, and it was a bold move for Ringo to release an album that was not the rock style one would expect from a former member of the Beatles. Although it received mixed reviews, the album demonstrated Ringo's musical versatility, with him trying his hand at genres that few expected. Ringo showed off his singing ability on songs like Blue, and Sentimental Journey, demonstrating a gentle and lyrical style. Soon after, in 1970, Ringo released Beaucoup of Blues, an influential album of country and blues music. The album was recorded over a short period and showed a different side of Ringo's career, as he explored a more earthy and stripped-down sound. However, his solo career took off with Ringo's 1973 album Ringo, which was one of the most successful albums of his career. The album featured many famous artists such as John Lennon, George Harrison, and Paul McCartney, his old friends from the Beatles. Ringo had hits such as Photograph and You're 16 and was successful on the music charts, giving Ringo a solid foothold in the solo music scene. Another notable song from Ringo's solo career was It Don't Come Easy, 1971, which became a huge hit, demonstrating Ringo's ability to write independently. It Don't Come Easy was written with the help of George Harrison and became one of his most memorable songs. The song not only marked a turning point in Ringo's career, but also demonstrated the continued collaboration between the former Beatles even after the group had broken up. Despite his success as a solo artist, Ringo Starr struggled to stand on his own 2 feet without the support of the Beatles. Although he was able to produce hits and sell albums, Ringo's solo career never reached the heights he had achieved as a member of the Beatles. After the breakup of the band, fans tended to compare the solo work of the members, and the expectations placed on Ringo were one of the factors that made it difficult for him. One of the major problems Ringo faced in his solo career was his songwriting ability. Although he was a talented songwriter with hits like Octopus's Garden during his time with the Beatles, Ringo was never able to write songs as iconic as those written by Lennon and McCartney. As a result, Ringo often had to rely on the help of other songwriters to create hits. This sometimes led to him being criticized for lacking individual creativity in his music, especially when compared to his bandmates, such as John Lennon and Paul McCartney, who were known for their great songwriting ability. Ringo was not the main songwriter for the Beatles, but with songs like With a Little Help from My Friends and Octopus's Garden, he demonstrated his talent for creating distinctive music. However, after the group's breakup, Ringo's music failed to maintain the same level of popularity that the Beatles had achieved during their active years. Ringo's solo work, while still popular, failed to recreate the explosiveness that the Beatles had. In addition, problems with his public image also affected Ringo's career. In the early years after the Beatles' breakup, he faced skepticism from the media and fans. Ringo also struggled to find his musical style in a period when much was expected of the Beatles, especially after the success of Lennon and McCartney's solo albums. Throughout his solo career, although not comparable to the success of the Beatles, Ringo Starr has always been recognized as a talented artist with a unique style and a significant contribution to world music. Ringo Starr, despite his fame and challenging career, also had many ups and downs in his family life. Challenges outside of career. Ringo's first relationship was with Maureen Cox, a music industry assistant. They married in 1965 and had 3 children together: Zach, born 1960, Jason, born 1967, and Lee, born 1970. However, this marriage did not last. Although they had a happy family life in the early years, due to the stress of Ringo's career, along with personal problems, they decided to divorce in 1975. Maureen later remarried to a British businessman, but unfortunately, she passed away in 1994 after a long battle with cancer. After his divorce from Maureen, Ringo did not rush into a new relationship until 1981, when he married Barbara Bach, a famous American actress. This relationship is considered one of the most successful marriages in the entertainment industry, and they lived happily together. Barbara Bach, who is known for her role in the film The Spy Who Loved Me 1977, helped Ringo find peace in his life. The couple not only shared love, but also participated in artistic projects together, supporting each other through challenges in their careers and personal lives. Like many other artists in the music industry, Ringo also experienced health problems and personal problems throughout his life. One of the biggest challenges he faced was his addiction to alcohol and drugs. During the early years of the Beatles' career, the group was immersed in a lavish and negative lifestyle, with endless parties. Ringo, like the other members, had been involved in a drug habit. However, unlike the other members, Ringo did not let this habit dominate his life too much. By the late 1970s, Ringo was facing a major battle to stay healthy and regain sobriety. In the early 1980s, he decided to clean himself from alcohol and drugs with the help of rehab program. Ringo has shared that it was perseverance and the support of friends and family that helped him overcome the dark times in his life. In addition to his struggles with drugs and alcohol, Ringo also had serious health problems throughout his life. He faced surgeries and medical treatments related to arthritis, which left him battling pain and fatigue for many years. In 1990, Ringo Starr and his family experienced a shocking incident when their home was attacked by an intruder. The invasion took place at Ringo's Los Angeles home and caused great concern for the safety of the family. The intruder broke into the premises of the home and caused a terrible invasion. Fortunately, Ringo and his family were not injured, and the intruder was arrested shortly thereafter. This incident caused Ringo and Barbara to increase their security measures for their family and also raised concerns for the safety of famous stars. Although the invasion did not cause serious physical harm, it did cause Ringo to think about the privacy and safety of his family in a world where celebrity privacy is increasingly intrusive. Ringo Starr not only faced challenges in his musical career, but also had to fight serious internal battles. Have you heard of this little kid in him? Internal battles. One of the most difficult periods in his life was his struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. The early years of the Beatles were filled with parties, lavish lifestyles, and the temptation of stimulants. At that time, Ringo, along with the band members, often used stimulants to maintain energy during the relentless tours. However, he later realized that these habits were seriously affecting his health and happiness. With the support of close friends such as Paul McCartney and George Harrison, Ringo began his journey to recovery from alcohol and drug addiction in the late 1970s. During this time, he faced loneliness and deep sadness when the Beatles broke up, leaving him feeling lost and directionless. Feeling left behind after the breakup of the band exacerbated the psychological problems he was already experiencing. He faced bouts of depression and sleepless nights, and sometimes could not find a way to overcome these feelings. However, Ringo did not give up. He sought out rehab programs where he had access to professionals and people who had gone through similar struggles. Ringo's resilience in his recovery has made him a role model for many others struggling with similar serious issues. He realized that seeking help and opening up to those around him was the first step to starting his healing journey. After overcoming his addiction problems, Ringo began to seek peace and harmony in his life. He turned to activities that helped him create mental balance, including meditation, yoga, and conversations with close friends. This helped him relieve stress and find joy in life again. Ringo also began to participate in charity activities, showing a deep concern for those in need. He was not only a donor, but also directly involved in organizations, helping poor children, people affected by drugs, and communities struggling with illness. Ringo shared that giving not only helped others, but also gave him a sense of satisfaction and peace of mind. He is involved in organizations such as the Lotus Foundation, a charity he founded that supports organizations that help people with mental health problems, as well as help them overcome addiction and mental pain. The foundation helps provide support for patients undergoing treatment for depression and addiction, as well as promoting recovery through community activities. Ringo said that participating in charity and community activities is an important part of his journey to find himself. He feels that by helping others, he is also helping himself overcome pain and find inner peace. These actions are not just about financial contributions, but also about a long-term commitment to supporting those who need help the most. The relationships he builds through these organizations also help Ringo feel more loved and appreciated, which gives him more peace in his busy life. Ringo also shared that his struggles with addiction and depression helped him understand that happiness does not come from fame or money, but from inner peace and connection with loved ones. He felt lightness and peace in being a person who shares and supports the community instead of just being a star. During his final years, Ringo was no longer under the pressure of his musical career, but he continued to contribute to the music industry with endless passion. Although he was no longer a part of the Beatles, Ringo maintained a close relationship with the remaining members of the group, especially Paul McCartney, his longtime companion. The two met regularly and discussed music, new projects, and beautiful memories of the Beatles' golden age. Ringo also spent a lot of time with his family, especially his children, who were grown up and had their own lives. Ringo's family life became a strong spiritual support for him, helping him feel at peace after years of hardship in his career and personal life. How do you feel about Ringo's life and career? Which memories or songs of his have left a deep impression on you? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you